How important is it for this particular football team to go to a bowl game? Whether that's from the standpoint of prestige, it looks better to be in a bowl game, opportunity to have a winning season, all the things that are just contained to this season and the look of this season versus the tangibles of extra practices and all of that.
The last thing, I mean, honestly, the extra practices are the thing that are the big win from going to a bowl game. You know, the result of the bowl game is inconsequential. You know, you're talking about 6-6. So I haven't even, you know, usually in the end of October, beginning of November, once Miami's bowl eligible, which they've been many, many times, you know, I do the piece going through the ACC bowl selection process and the tiers of, okay, so, you know, you go here, playoff, and if not playoff, Orange Bowl, and if not Orange Bowl, then da-da-da-da, and, you know, who gets picked where, and what are the tie-ins, and da-da-da-da. I haven't even looked at it this year because, like, I mean, we're not even close to it. So, I mean, that means it's going to be the bottom of the barrel if we get in to a bowl game. So that's probably whatever bowl is the Sun Bowl in El Paso, the Gasparilla Bowl is probably even above that. So you're probably talking Shreveport. You're probably talking whichever one. The Motor City Bowl is an option. I mean, like you're talking about, you know, stuff that's in 3 weeks. You know, so the bowl game itself is inconsequential completely. It's the fact that you get 15 extra practices for all of your young players. Like, and if when the season's over, you don't get more practice. You know, they can be around the facility, they can do the player-led thing, but like everybody on the field with the coaches, all that work ends after you lose the last game of the year. So, I mean, whether that's regular season, bowl, playoff, whatever. So getting those extra 15 practices can really, really, really be transformational for especially the young guys at the end of their first year. You know, like a guy we haven't even talked about this season. Think about number 22, Chris Graves, right? High school teammate of Malik Curtis at Fort Myers Bishop Verot High School. Two-way standout, 6'1.5", 6'2" cornerback, you know, sub 11. I think he's like 10.8 in the 100. You know, also not as fast as Malik Curtis, but also a guy who's sub 11. Everything, you know, and he's at the end of his first year. He's still 17 years old.
Mm.
And he was young for his recruiting class cycle. So he might, because he came in as a 17-year-old. So he's probably not even turning 18 till a little bit on. I mean, Najee Kelly just turned 18 in the middle of this season, this current season. And he actually started a game and had a sack on his birthday in the middle of the year, right? So think about guys like that getting 15 extra practices with the benefit of youth too. And the time horizon is the big thing that can have a positive effect on potential because, like, yeah, you're bringing in a guy who's 17, Anton Jackson from Dillard, reclassified up, and he was a 2024 kid, and he's going to come in and he's going to early enroll. He's going to be there in January at 16 years old. Because he's not like, you've seen guys like, you know, I've told the story of old grandpa Judy, right, who aged out of eligibility at 19 and 9 months in September. He hit campus in Tuscaloosa as a 20-year-old, right? Mark Walton was a guy who was old for his grade, reclassified down. A guy like Josh Jobe wanted to do the Jerry Jeudy thing, but Florida has since changed the ruling or the eligibility requirement where you cannot be 19 at all, or once your season seniors. Oh, sorry, you cannot be 19 before your senior season starts, which Josh Jobe was. That's why he went to the prep school in Connecticut. So all these things and whatnot. So we've seen guys who are old for their grade, and then they reclassify down to be on their par year grade level. You know what I mean? Like with their peer level age group. Anton Jackson is with his peer level age group. But all those credits that they have you take in high school, you don't actually need. And the NCAA clearinghouse does not require all those other things. Things like my classes. that I taught, music appreciation, choir, vocal ensemble. You don't need any of those. You need one. But that can also be a core elective. So if you're taking, if you're a person who does double reading and has a reading with an intensive class, or English with an intensive reading, or you can get your elective out of the way. And all the core classes, your 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, basically, throw in some history. And that's about it. And so Antoine Jackson looked at it and said, if I work ahead and I do my English 4 while I'm doing my English 3, which is really the only thing, and then I think he probably had to do economics and U.S. history online. But if I do all of those, I'm good. Not right now, but right now. So actually, he had to do a lot. He had to do second semester English 3, both semesters of English 4, econ and government or senior classes. Outside of those credits, that's pretty much it. If he's already done his math and everything else. So then he's just like, hey, yeah, I could stick around the hood and, play another year here at Dillard. He even came on the timeline and said, hey, I could have gone to Aquinas. I could have gone to Heritage. I could have gone to one of them private schools. But I'm from around the way in Fort Lauderdale. I went to the neighborhood school to put on for my city, put on for my hood, literally, right there. And that's why I didn't go somewhere else like that. I'm proud of my team. Yeah, we lost in the playoffs, but I'm with that. And he did all the work to say, cool, I'm going to hit campus now as a 16-year-old. Imagine next year where he will be 17 years old at this point of next season as a college freshman, same as Chris Graves, getting those extra 15 practices. Bro, just think about the potential there, as opposed to, even if I'm going to not talk about Judy, fine, because he was super duper duper old. Even like a Josh Jobe, who was 19 years and I think he was 19 years and 7 months when he hit campus, because he was 19 before the fall started in August and things like that. But you got a kid who's 17 years and 8 months versus a kid who's 19 and 7 months. And actually, he would have been 20 years old because it'd been the end of that season, and they're getting those extra practices, those extra reps. That's really where you can become excited about the potential and the path forward. So, yeah, and it's not just with those guys, any of the other young guys, Cam Kinchins should be a first team All-American if we're going off of play on the field. I know that he plays for a terrible team, fine. But that's a first-team All-ACC, first-team All-American performance he's put on film on the field this current season. Yet and still, he's only a sophomore. You don't want him to have 15 extra practices to continue to level up like we've already seen him level up? Leonard Taylor, Daryl Jackson, who Kevin Steele waxed very poetic about on Monday, say, hey, if you look at it, teams run away from 6. And big boy, it's a big man in there. Don't you want that who's a sophomore? All those guys, all that. I haven't even gotten to the big one. You don't want 15 more practices for Jakari Brown to learn how to throw the ball accurately? That's the biggest thing. So, yeah, and I know I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but, yeah, the bowl game itself, the destination and the result, inconsequential. Getting there and having that extra development time coordinated with the staff in the guise of, hey, I put together this program, or I have this paradigm, or I know how to develop these kids, and I know the steps along the path. But we get to take more of those steps now so that you can get that integrated into your body moving forward. That's the biggest thing. There is also the potential for a 5-7 team to make a bowl game, and Miami would be near the top of that list because Miami has done very well in the APR standings since they've introduced those academic standards. Academic performance review, I believe, is what it's called. So there is the chance, and I haven't looked at the number of eligible teams versus the number of bowl slots, so I don't know. But there's a chance at 5-7, even if Miami does lose this game, that they could basically back their way into a bowl game. But hey, regardless, if you get those extra 15 practices, that's the more important thing than anything else in the scenario, in my estimation.